Hello, friends. Welcome to our story time. Today, we are going to learn about the first man and woman, Adam and Eve, from the Bible. Listening to stories in English helps you grow smart and wise. Remember to listen to the story many times to understand and remember it well. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you never miss a new story. Chapter 1: The Creation of Adam. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. God made the sun to shine during the day and the moon and stars to light up the night. He made the land and the seas, the mountains and the valleys. God filled the earth with all kinds of plants and trees, with flowers of every color and fruits of every kind. But God wanted someone special to take care of this beautiful world. So, God decided to make the first man. He shaped the man from the dust of the ground and breathed life into his nostrils. The man came to life, and God named him Adam. God saw that Adam needed a place to live, so he planted a beautiful garden, called Eden. The Garden of Eden was the most amazing place you could imagine. It was full of tall trees, colorful flowers, and rivers flowing with clear, cool water. There were trees that grew delicious fruits, like apples, oranges, and bananas. Every kind of fruit that Adam could ever want was right there in the garden. God put Adam in the Garden of Eden and gave him a very special job. Adam was to take care of the garden and all the plants and animals in it. God brought all the animals to Adam so he could give them names. Adam named the lions, the elephants, the birds, and the fish. He even named the tiny insects and the big, strong trees. Adam enjoyed his work in the garden. He loved walking among the trees, feeling the soft grass under his feet, and listening to the birds sing. Every evening, God would come to the garden and walk with Adam. They would talk and laugh together. Adam was very happy, but there was still something missing. As Adam looked around, he saw that every animal had a partner. The birds had their mates, the lions had their companions, but Adam was alone. God saw that Adam needed a friend, someone who could be his partner and helper. So, God decided to create a special companion for Adam. One day, God made Adam fall into a deep sleep. While Adam was sleeping, God took one of his ribs and used it to create a woman. Her name was Eve. When Adam woke up and saw Eve, he was filled with joy. He said, "This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, for she was taken out of man." Adam and Eve were the first people in the world. They were made by God, and they were very special. They lived together in the beautiful Garden of Eden, taking care of everything that God had made. Adam and Eve were happy because they were with God, and they had each other. Chapter 2: The Creation of Eve. Adam was very happy living in the Garden of Eden. He had a beautiful home full of plants and animals. He could eat all the delicious fruits from the trees, except for one tree. He walked and talked with God every day. But there was still something missing. Adam felt lonely because there was no one like him to share his life with. God saw that Adam needed a companion. He said, "It is not good for the man to be alone. I will make a helper suitable for him." God wanted to create someone who would be a perfect friend and partner for Adam. One day, God made Adam fall into a deep, deep sleep. While Adam was sleeping, God took one of his ribs from his side. God used that rib to create a woman. This woman would be Adam's companion, his friend, and his partner in taking care of the garden. Her name was Eve. When Adam woke up from his deep sleep, he saw Eve standing next to him. Adam was filled with joy and amazement. He said, "This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh, she shall be called woman, for she was taken out of man." Adam knew that Eve was special and that she was made just for him. Eve was beautiful, and she and Adam were very happy together. They walked through the garden admiring the flowers and trees. They picked fruits to eat and played with the animals. Adam showed Eve all the wonderful things in the Garden of Eden. He introduced her to the friendly animals and the sparkling rivers. Adam and Eve worked together to take care of the garden. They watered the plants, picked the ripe fruits, and made sure everything was healthy and growing. They enjoyed the beauty of the garden and thanked God for everything He had given them. Every evening, God would come to the garden to spend time with Adam and Eve. They would walk together, talking and laughing. Adam and Eve loved these special times with God. They felt His love and knew that He had a wonderful plan for them. God gave Adam and Eve everything they needed. He told them, "You may eat the fruit from any tree in the garden, but you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for when you eat from it, you will surely die." Adam and Eve listened to God's command and enjoyed all the other fruits in the garden. Adam and Eve were not just happy, they were also important to each other. They were the first family, created by God to love and support one another. They learned how to work together and care for the beautiful world around them. God had made them perfectly for each other, and they were never lonely again. As they lived and worked in the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve grew closer to each other and to God. They understood that they were a special part of God's creation, made to love and care for each other and the world. Their hearts were full of joy and gratitude, knowing that God had given them everything they needed to live a happy and blessed life. Chapter 3: The Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden was a truly magical place. It was the home of Adam and Eve, the first man and woman that God created. In this garden, there were all sorts of wonderful things to see and explore. The air was always fresh and sweet, filled with the fragrance of blooming flowers. Birds of all colors sang joyful songs, and animals played happily among the trees. Adam and Eve loved their home in the Garden of Eden. They had everything they needed. God had provided them with all kinds of delicious fruits to eat. There were apples, oranges, bananas, grapes, and many more. Every tree and plant in the garden was beautiful and good for food. Adam and Eve enjoyed picking the fruits and tasting their sweet flavors. In the middle of the garden, there were two very special trees. One was the tree of life, which gave eternal life. The other was the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. This tree was different from all the others. God had given Adam and Eve a very important rule about this tree. He said, "You may eat from any tree in the garden, but you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for when you eat from it, you will surely die." Adam and Eve listened carefully to God's command. They knew that God loved them and wanted the best for them. They were happy to follow His rule and enjoy all the other wonderful fruits in the garden. They understood that God had given them this rule to protect them and to help them stay safe and happy. Every day, Adam and Eve explored the garden together. They discovered new plants and animals and learned how to take care of them. They named the animals and watched them play. The lions, the elephants, the rabbits, and the deer all lived peacefully in the garden. Adam and Eve loved all the creatures and treated them with kindness. The rivers in the Garden of Eden were clear and sparkling. Adam and Eve would drink the fresh water and sometimes swim in the cool, refreshing streams. They enjoyed the shade of the tall trees and the soft grass under their feet. Everything in the garden was perfect, and Adam and Eve were very happy. In the evenings, God would come to the garden to spend time with Adam and Eve. They would walk together, and God would teach them many things. Adam and Eve loved these moments with God. They felt His love and learned about the world He had created. They knew that God was always with them, watching over them and caring for them. The Garden of Eden was not just a beautiful place, it was also a place where Adam and Eve felt close to God. They knew they were part of God's wonderful creation and that He had a special plan for them. They were grateful for everything God had given them and praised Him every day. Living in the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve learned the importance of listening to God and following His commands. They knew that God had given them a beautiful home and everything they needed to be happy. They were content and joyful, knowing that God loved them and had provided for them in every way. As they continued to live and work in the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve grew closer to each other and to God. They enjoyed their special home and the wonderful world around them. They understood that they were blessed to be part of God's creation and were thankful for His love and care. Chapter 4: The Temptation. Adam and Eve lived happily in the Garden of Eden, enjoying everything that God had made for them. They loved the beautiful trees, the tasty fruits, and all the friendly animals. They were grateful for their special home and for each other. But one day, something unexpected happened. In the garden, there was a sneaky snake. This snake was not an ordinary snake. It was very clever and crafty. The snake was really the devil in disguise, and he wanted to trick Adam and Eve into disobeying God. One day, when Eve was walking near the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, the snake came up to her. The snake asked, "Did God really say you must not eat from any tree in the garden?" Eve replied, "We may eat fruit from the trees in the garden, but God said, you must not eat fruit from the tree that is in the middle of the garden, and you must not touch it, or you will die." The snake wanted to confuse Eve. He said, "You will not surely die. God knows that when you eat the fruit from this tree, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." The snake made the fruit sound very special and exciting. Eve looked at the tree and saw that the fruit was very beautiful. It looked delicious, and she thought about how nice it would be to be wise like God. She listened to the snake and decided to eat the fruit. She picked one and took a bite. Then she gave some to Adam, who was with her, and he ate it too. As soon as Adam and Eve ate the fruit, they realized they had done something wrong. They felt different. They felt ashamed and guilty. They looked at each other and noticed that they were naked. They quickly sewed fig leaves together to make clothes and covered themselves. Later, when they heard God walking in the garden, they were afraid. They hid among the trees, because they knew they had disobeyed God's command. God called out to them, "Where are you?" Adam replied, "I heard you in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid." God asked, "Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree that I commanded you not to eat from?" Adam said, "The woman you put here with me, she gave me some fruit from the tree, and I ate it." Then God asked Eve, "What is this you have done?" Eve said, "The snake deceived me, and I ate." God was very sad that Adam and Eve had disobeyed Him. He knew that their choice would bring many troubles into the world. God told the snake, "Because you have done this, you are cursed. You will crawl on your belly and eat dust all the days of your life." To Eve, God said, "I will make your pains in childbearing very severe. You will give birth to children in pain." To Adam, He said, "Because you listened to your wife and ate fruit from the tree, the ground is cursed because of you. Through painful toil, you will eat food from it all the days of your life." God told Adam and Eve that they had to leave the Garden of Eden. They had to live outside the garden and work hard to grow their food. But God still loved them very much. He made clothes for them out of animal skins, to keep them warm and safe. As Adam and Eve left the Garden of Eden, they knew they had made a big mistake. They felt sorry for disobeying God, but they also knew that God still cared for them. They promised to listen to God and follow His ways, even though life would be much harder outside the beautiful garden. Through this experience, Adam and Eve learned the importance of obeying God and the consequences of their choices. They understood that God's rules were there to protect them and to help them live happy and good lives. They realized that even when they made mistakes, God's love for them never ended.